Understanding overthinking, the silent enemy of action. Overthinking is one of the most common yet destructive habits that people struggle with today. It often disguises itself as productivity, intelligence, or careful planning, but in reality, it can paralyze decision-making and prevent real progress. If you've ever found yourself stuck in your own thoughts, unable to take action despite knowing what needs to be done, you're not alone. At its core, overthinking is the act of analyzing a situation excessively, often to the point where it becomes counterproductive. Instead of helping you make better decisions, it traps you in a loop of doubt, fear, and hesitation. You begin to question every possible outcome, imagining worst-case scenarios, and seeking perfection before even taking the first step. One of the main reasons people overthink is fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, or even fear of success. This fear creates a mental barrier that convinces you that thinking more will somehow protect you. But the truth is, overthinking doesn't eliminate risk. It amplifies it in your mind. Another reason is the desire for perfection. Many people believe they must have everything figured out before they start. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, or the perfect version of themselves. Unfortunately, that moment never comes. Life is unpredictable, and perfection is an illusion that keeps you stuck. Overthinking also drains your mental energy. Your brain is constantly working, replaying scenarios, analyzing conversations, and predicting outcomes. This leads to fatigue, stress, and even anxiety. Instead of moving forward, you feel overwhelmed and mentally exhausted. One of the most dangerous effects of overthinking is analysis paralysis. This is when you have so many thoughts, options, and possibilities that you end up doing nothing. You become stuck in a loop of thinking instead of acting. And in the long run, inaction becomes your biggest regret, not the mistakes you feared making. It's important to understand that overthinking is not a sign of weakness. In fact, it often comes from a desire to do things right. But without control, it becomes a barrier to growth. The goal is not to stop thinking completely, that's impossible, but to manage your thoughts so they serve you instead of controlling you. Awareness is the first step to overcoming overthinking. You need to recognize when you're stuck in a mental loop. Ask yourself, is this thought helping me take action, or is it holding me back? This simple question can shift your mindset instantly. Another powerful way to break free is to limit your thinking time. Give yourself a specific window to think about a decision, maybe 10 or 15 minutes, then commit to taking action. This forces your brain to focus on solutions instead of endless possibilities. You also need to accept uncertainty. No decision in life comes with a 100% guarantee. Waiting for certainty will only keep you stuck. Successful people are not those who avoid mistakes, but those who take action despite uncertainty. Lastly, remind yourself that action creates clarity, not the other way around. You don't need to have everything figured out before you start. In fact, most clarity comes from experience, not thinking. Breaking the cycle, practical steps to take action. Now that you understand what overthinking is and why it happens, the next step is learning how to break free from it and start taking action. This is where real transformation begins. The first and most important step is to simplify your decisions. Overthinking thrives on complexity. The more options you have, the harder it becomes to choose. Instead of trying to find the best possible option, focus on finding a good enough one. Progress is always better than perfection. A powerful technique to stop overthinking is the 5-second rule. The moment you feel the urge to act on something, count down from 5 and move immediately. This interrupts your brain before it has time to create excuses. Action becomes automatic rather than optional. Another key strategy is to break your goals into small, manageable steps. Big goals can feel overwhelming, which triggers overthinking. But when you divide them into simple tasks, they become easier to start. Instead of thinking, I need to change my life, start with something small like, I will work for 10 minutes. Taking imperfect action is also essential. Many people delay action because they want everything to be perfect. But perfection is the enemy of progress. The truth is, your first attempt will never be perfect, and that's okay. What matters is starting. You should also train your mind to focus on the present moment. Overthinking often comes from worrying about the future or replaying the past. But action only happens in the present. When you focus on what you can do right now, you reduce mental noise and increase productivity. Another effective method is to set deadlines for yourself. Without deadlines, your brain will keep postponing decisions. Deadlines create urgency and force you to act, even if you're not fully ready. It's also important to change your relationship with failure. Overthinkers often see failure as something to avoid at all costs, but in reality, failure is part of growth. Every mistake teaches you something valuable. When you accept this, you become more willing to take action. Surrounding yourself with action-oriented people can also make a huge difference. Your environment influences your behavior. When you're around people who take action, you're more likely to do the same. Another powerful mindset shift is to focus on doing rather than thinking. Instead of asking yourself, what if this goes wrong? Ask, what can I do right now? This shifts your brain from fear to action. You can also use journaling to clear your mind. Writing down your thoughts helps you organize them and reduce mental clutter. Once your thoughts are on paper, they become easier to manage. Consistency is the final piece of the puzzle. Taking action once is not enough. You need to build a habit of action. Start small, stay consistent, and gradually increase your efforts. Over time, action becomes your default behavior. In the end, the difference between successful people and those who stay stuck is simple. Action. Not perfect action, not massive action, just consistent, imperfect action. Remember this, you don't need to feel ready. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to start, because the longer you wait, the stronger overthinking becomes. But the moment you take action, you break the cycle, and that's where real change begins. From overthinking to action. Overthinking is not your enemy, but leaving it unchecked is. It tricks you into believing that more thinking leads to better outcomes, when in reality, it often leads to hesitation, doubt, and missed opportunities. The truth is simple. Clarity comes from action, not endless. You don't need the perfect plan, the perfect moment, or the perfect version of yourself. What you need is the courage to take the first step. Imperfect, uncertain, but real. Every time you act instead of overthink, you train your mind to move forward instead of staying stuck. You build confidence, gain experience, and create momentum. And over time, that momentum becomes a habit, a powerful one. Remember, you will never feel 100% ready. You will never eliminate all risks, but you can always choose to act. In the end, your life is shaped not by the thoughts you have, but by the actions you take. So stop waiting. Stop overthinking. Start doing. Because action is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be.